Dun,
Hello.
dun. Hello, David.
Hi there. How's it going?
How are you? I'm good. I'm really excited for
Pretty
this.
good.
Where are you right
Thanks.
now?
Thanks for having me. I am in Bucharest, and since you're always doing these nice videos in the sun, I thought maybe I'll go onto the balcony myself
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir. Where is that? Is that in Germany?
Bucharest is in Romania.
Okay, okay.
It's the capital of Romania. So we're playing here tonight, 8 o'clock show with the classical iconic program. There's a lot of traveling right now, just performing every night. You know,
Oof.
the usual
The usual gig.
touring and routine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously this is going to go online, right? So I kind of wanted to introduce you
Yeah.
to maybe people who might not be familiar, but I mean,
Sure.
they should be. They really should be. If you're watching
I
me,
don't know.
you should
I don't
know who
know.
David
Should
Garrett
be
is.
right.
For those who don't know, David is an internationally acclaimed violinist, and he is an icon in the violin world. For me especially, you've inspired me when I first started the violin because you kind of made it look really cool. You know, you're like one of the first violinists who made it look natural and like set this picture for what a violinist could look like, right? So,
Thank you.
yeah, I kind of wanted to just have a chat with you and like learn a bit more about you. So my first question would be, when you put down your violin, what did you get up
Yeah.
to? What else do you really love
What
doing?
do I get? What do I get up to? I love actually working out. Not too much with weights because if you work too hard with weights, it kind of like destroys a little bit the agility
Oh,
of the
okay.
left hand. So I noticed that. I did it for a couple of months when I was a little younger, and I realized my hand becoming a little slower in the left. So that is a no-go. So it cannot affect
Oh,
my
wow.
playing ability. But I love doing. I love jogging. I love doing a cross trainer, CrossFit kind of work. I love instruments. This is a
Yes.
very big part of my life. Not playing wise,
Yeah.
but looking at good instruments. In particular, there's one violin maker I am obsessed about, which is Guarneri del Gesù. I'm
Okay.
sure that rings a bell. It's next to Antonio Stradivari, the most famous violin maker. And I decided a couple of years ago during the pandemic to dedicate a lot of time to making a website about all his instruments which he built and trying to get all the photos for each instrument together. So that's an obsession of mine. Takes
You-
some time.
You made the website,
I did make the website.
and you say you're
Yeah.
not good with technology then?
Yeah, well,
That's really good.
Certain technology I'm still, it's always, like developing technology. So
Yeah.
every time I'm 3 months on tour with my old cell phone, I come home and it's new stuff everywhere. So I have to kind of get into it.
You know, you said you've played since you were very young, right? How young exactly?
I started when I was 4,
That's insane.
4 years of age.
That's insane.
Very, very, very long time. And luckily, I don't remember how I sounded.
Right.
In these days, because the violin, as you know, is not an easy instrument to start with. It's
I
easier
remember.
to have the piano in front of you. It's all in tune. You
Yeah.
just press a key, and a beautiful sound comes out. With the violin, you have to kind of have the coordination between the right hand bow and the left, and have exactly the right weight on the finger, exactly the right position
Yes.
in order to get one note sounding beautifully. It takes months, maybe years.
Yeah.
So it is a
100%.
difficult instrument for the player, but also for the listener, also for the parents.
Do you know what? I feel so
Difficult
bad for my
enough.
family. I feel more bad for the family and the neighbours. So I imagine like when you were young, it was more of a passion, more of a hobby sort of thing.
Yeah.
When did it become your career? When did you think, right, I'm going to do this for the rest of my
Yeah.
life?
Very early. The truth, very, very early. I had parents and I had teachers who already told me at the age of 8, 9, 10, when I started playing solo material with orchestra. You have to see, the first concert I did as a soloist with the big orchestra behind me and a conductor. I was 8,
Right.
playing Mozart violin concertos. So of course everybody was saying, "Oh, you're becoming a professional violinist." I mean, there wasn't even a discussion. Everybody
Yeah.
was, "You're so talented. You're so good at this."
Yeah.
And I was working my fingers off, to be quite
Wow.
honest, backstage, with
Yeah.
a lot of work. People told me this is what I have to do, even though that's stupid at that age to do it. I mean, looking back, I was really young kid,
Yeah.
and there was too much force put on the fact that I needed to become. But my parents also had the first time a situation where they had a young kid playing an instrument, having a career. So they made some mistakes also in that regard.
Fair enough. And I guess going into it a bit young, did you develop a bit of like rebelliousness?
Well, I think if you grew up in the classical world, you have to become rebellious because
Yes.
it's so stuck up.
Yes.
It is so boring.
Right.
Not the music. The music is wonderful.
Yes.
But sometimes the situations the music is presented. I, for instance, hated wearing a tuxedo or like something which kind of like cuts off the air. I mean, if you play music is a language. Music is like speaking. You need to be able to breathe on stage. And me being 10 years old, my dad putting me in a tuxedo and stuff, and I was like, I can't breathe. Everything was kind of like choking here, and I was like, this is not the way to freely play music. You said before what you like when I play is that there's a certain kind of nonchalance and freedom and fun and moving.
Yes.
And because I had to deal with that as a kid, I never liked this kind of like restraint.
Yes.
With clothes, restraint with how the audience is supposed to react, restraint where a concert is going to be given. Luckily, maybe also a tiny part because of me, things are changing. I feel for the better.
Yeah. Well, that's what's really interesting to me is that you've sort of dabbled in both of those worlds. You've kind of touched on the classical world and the mainstream like music world as well. So is there any difference there, or is the classical world similar to the music industry?
Well, the difference is if you dabble in the mainstream world, you're going to get a lot of criticism once you go back to the classical world.
Yeah.
They will give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you have to have backbone. If you're really passionate about something, you will have backbone and you will do it because you feel it's the right thing.
Yeah.
I think with anything in life, if you are convinced that it's the right move for you and you're passionate about it, you're not going to worry about critics. And critics are not going to like make you ponder if it's the right thing. So yes, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you have to kind of make sure classical music still, the career moves on, you're still doing your projects, you're still getting the invites. But luckily, I was good enough of a player to always get invites with very, very good orchestras, with very good first-class conductors, even when I did the crossover tours before. So in the end, I managed to kind of make both things survive next to each other.
Yeah.
It was difficult though.
And you've been in the actual industry for a while now. Like you've done, how many albums have you done? Like 20? Over 20.
It's about over 20.
Over 20, yeah.
Almost over 20.
Yeah.
I started very young though. My first record I did with 13.
Right, fair enough. What's been your favourite one to record? What's been your favourite one?
I think it's very difficult. The favorite one is always the one which sticks in your mind because it's most recent. You remember putting all your thoughts and your energy in it. So of course the one you just finished is closest to you mentally, maybe closest to your heart at the moment.
Well, what was the hardest one?
But the hardest one, I think doing the soundtrack for the Paganini movie was very time consuming.
Right.
It wasn't even the album itself, but it was writing film score for 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Looking at the pictures, coming up with music to support the movie, support the visual images.
Yeah.
That was something I underestimated how much time that would take.
Yeah.
So that was something probably which was the most difficult I've ever done.
Have you done many originals as well? Because you usually do renditions of well-known songs, right?
It's true, yeah. Yes, I do a lot of originals. I've just recently written the piano concerto.
Wow.
Which is going to be premiered at the Zinandali Festival in Georgia in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
I'm very excited about sitting in the audience for once and having a pianist sweat over my music.
Playing your song, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a three movement large composition. It's about 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like a symphony for piano, and it's going to be exciting to hear that.
Have you ever sat with songwriters, for example, and written stuff together?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, I have. I think it's very inspiring. Everybody, of course, has a different approach, and even I sometimes have different approach. Sometimes I just sit at home on the piano and I just like a chord progression, I'm just playing along a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, that is an interesting chord progression. I don't have a melody yet in my head, just really interesting, new feeling chord progression. And then normally I just tape it on my iPhone and move on to other things because my day is quite stressful. And then at some point I re-listen, and then I start having a melody for that chord progression, And that's one angle to start composing. Another more simple angle is you have just a melody.
And you write around
so
it.
many times.
So
many times when you wake up, you still have music in your head, and you're like, oh, that was really good. And I always have pen and paper, and I write down that's a nice melody. And then afterwards, you come up with the chord progression, and then of course you have to be creative and make the most beautiful but yet relatable chord progression. But those are the two angles I come from. I know other songwriters, they have sometimes total different. They come over the words.
That's really unusual.
They write down a song more starting with the words, and then they look at the words and find a melody which works with the words. And once there's a melody, they start harmonizing it. So everybody has such a different approach. I mean, in the end, if it leads to good music, and anybody can do how they feel it's
100%. A lot of the time, the melodies sometimes come in the shower for some reason, or the car.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's nice.
It's the most uncommon places, like the song I wrote for Nicole Scherzinger. The melody came also when I was sitting in the bathtub, so I can relate to that.
It's the nice reverb in the room. I think that's what it is.
Maybe, but also it's probably the moment where you, for 1 second, just relax and shut down your brain, and then creativity flows again. Because sometimes in life you're just trying to be so forceful. You have to work. This is your schedule. This has to be done. This has to be done. You're becoming more of a not a robot, but you're becoming very efficient.
Yes.
And then the few moments where you actually say, okay, I'm not going to work.
Yes.
I'm just going to lie down.
Yeah.
When your brain shuts down, then creativity sometimes flows really nicely.
Yes, exactly.
And then suddenly you're working again. It's like,
it's on and off. Like, I always find on those days where you're not sticking to routine, that's when you're really creative, isn't it?
Of course. True.
Do you know
the further you go away from it?
No, you go. Sorry.
No, I said the further you go away from your daily chores, the more, of course, influences you also visually have. There's suddenly things change. In the way you see the day, and that brings up creativity, of course.
Do you know what one of my favorite tracks of yours is? It's Kashmir. It's the cover of Kashmir, the Led Zeppelin one.
Oh.
It's my all-time favorite. It's my all-time favorite. I feel like that's like the perfect David Garrett track, in my opinion, because it's like it's so perfect for your style, like the rock influence and the, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I would describe why it's good in a different way, and because it has really good elements in the original. First of all, it has a riff.
Yes.
Meaning that it has a rhythmical melody which is super recognizable.
Yes.
In whatever instrument you play, ba-da-dum, 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 with the half tone, that's already, everybody's like, oh, that's Kashmir, that's Led Zeppelin. So that's already a good thing. Second of all, it fits great on the violin with the open string on top, playing G string, D string. Third thing is the melody is very recognizable as well. So it's not only a great riff, it's a great melody which works on the violin, and the chorus is killer.
Yes. That's my favorite part.
So that piece is just like a no-brainer, It just probably took not much time because it just came naturally to the instrument,
Yeah, but it got me wondering, like, what kind of music did you listen to growing up that you'd cover something like that, Like, I don't. Someone might assume that you'd only listen to classical, but I feel like you don't. I feel like you listen to a bit of everything, right?
I listen to everything now, and I started listening to everything when I was 18, 19 years old. And because my father was not a huge fan of me listening to rock, he wanted me to be like focused only on the classical.
Yes.
And then once I had freedom, I was like, okay, I need to listen to whatever is out there. I moved to London for half a year and then moved to New York. I knew already all the classical repertoire. So I was like, what use is it re-listening and re-listening? I'll keep practicing, okay.
Yeah.
But when I went to concerts, I went to jazz clubs, I went to rock shows, I went to small rock gigs, I went to see club music, EDM, R&B, house. For me, the moment I felt that freedom, it wasn't forbidden anymore. I needed to experience all of it.
Well, mine is exactly the same story, except instead of classical, I grew up in like a church, so we grew up in like a religious house, so I wasn't allowed to listen to any like secular music. But when I got my first iPhone, I was like, I'm downloading everything. I'm like listening to everything I can get my hands on.
Exactly.
And I think it really helps, doesn't it, though, because you can then use what you know from you're so familiar with into this new kind of realm. So I think that's really amazing.
Absolutely. The fact actually that I did not listen to much rock pop music for 18 years of my life made it even more fun and ambitious from my side to discover.
Yeah.
If you hear a pop song or a rock song, you look for the ingredients,
yes,
which would make it sound great symphonically. I never listened to a piece and just say, oh, the melody works to the violin. For me, the more important factor is, does a work symphonically? Can I imagine this thing working without drums, without bass, without guitar, just as a symphonic orchestration? 100%. And if the answer is yes, I'll look more into it.
100%. I've got a lot more questions, but it's fine. I'll ask you in person because you're coming to Australia, right?
I am coming to Australia, first time.
When are you coming here? What dates are you coming here?
I know the first show is on the 17th of October this year. September.
Yes.
I'm messing everything up.
Yeah.
Let's do this again.
Is it September?
Sydney, let me have a look at my iPhone. So we are going to be coming to wonderful Australia. I've never played there before. I've been there, but never performed. 17th of September in Sydney at the Town Hall. We're playing the 22nd. Adelaide at the Majestic Theatre. 23rd in Melbourne at the Palais Theatre. Then I have a couple of days off, and I'm going to check out Australia and do a little vacation for 4 days.
Yeah.
And maybe record some demos in between for the next album. Then we're playing 29th in Oakland at the Town Hall, and our last performance is going to be in Brisbane on the 1st of October 2023. And if somebody or anybody loves music, loves entertainment, loves having a good time for 2 hours, come by.
And I'll be there in the audience cheering you on.
Yeah, you better be there and come backstage. Come backstage.
And do you know what's special? My first ever concert was meant to be on the 24th with my friends, but yours is a week before that. So technically, you're the first concert that I've ever been to, believe it or not.
Makes me feel even more special. Thank you very much, sir.
well, thanks for doing this. It was really special for me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time as well, and definitely come backstage and we'll talk more music when you come to the show.
All right, David. I'll let you off now.
All right.
You can pack your bags.
I have to go and do something for Hong Kong.
Yeah.
See how that is. Bye, sir.
Bye,
have
David.
A good day.
You too.